Radio Free Pro Wrestling proudly presents Center Stage. Help David and Sean welcome this week's guest to the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, it is our pleasure to have the current NWA TV champion. He is also the host of the Pope's Point of View, and he also is the founder of the Love Alive charity based in Jacksonville, Florida. He is no other than the Pope, Elijah Burke. Mr. Burke, how are you doing?
Pope's doing, Daddy. I'm just happy to be here, happy to be above ground, like everybody else, and just do what we have to do to keep on surviving during these crazy times, man.
Yes, it's been a crazy year, especially for everybody. The NWA was really doing a awesome job right before the pandemic hit, and they had to shut down. But luckily, you guys are back up and running. You just had your pay-per-view back to the attack, and you just had the first episode of NWA Power, and you successfully defended your title against Tom Latimer. So, how has it been being back in the ring finally?
Well, I mean, it's great to be back for the NWA again, talking about surviving during these crazy times, and that's what NWA has done. And we're back now, and we look forward to continuing, providing that special type of wrestling and entertainment that only we can in NWA. But when you ask about how it is to be back in the ring, well, that's always not an issue. Pope's going to stay in the ring anywhere, somewhere, somehow. But it felt good to be back in the NWA ring. It felt good to be back, back for the attack, and it felt good to be doing Power. But it never feels good to stand across the ring from the maniacal nutcase that is known as Thomas Latimer, Daddy. That right there, ain't nothing nice about that.
I would want to cross him in a lit alley or a dark alley or anything.
Yeah, man. Thomas Latimer, the former Bram. I mean, he is everything that he appears to be. And luckily, your boy was able to go out there and successfully defend my title. Would have liked to pin him, and I'm sure he would have liked to have pinned me. But at the end of the day, again, there's that word, we just survived.
So, at the end of the pay-per-view, you guys had a fitting tribute to Josephus, the question mark. And I thought the whole show was a fitting tribute to the question mark.
Joseph was so integral in the growth and success of the modern NWA. So he was more than what you guys just saw on screen. He played his role in the productions. He played his role, obviously, in creating those videos that everybody came to love between the Power episodes. And he was just well liked, and it still affects us all today that we were able to reunite, and obviously the question mark was not with us, so it played a part definitely, and all of us just wanted to go out there and wrestle for our friend and give him a fitting tribute.
So looking back at the beginning of your career, Pope, I saw that you were an amateur boxer before you got into wrestling. Was there ever a point where you thought, hey, I might want to go into boxing?
Well, no, there was never a point that I wanted to go into boxing. I mean, I was in the boxing. Pope boxed for 3 years. So it was not whether or not I wanted to go into boxing. I was into boxing. If the question is whether or not I wanted to further my career in boxing and, take it up to the professional level and all of that, no, that was never a thought in Pope's mind, because I was simply out there doing something for the point of entertainment. I was not out there boxing per se just to box. Yes, I'm a competitive individual, but I was just fulfilling a need to entertain folk, and that was my way of entertaining.
Okay, so I remember seeing you debut in ECW as the kind of like cornerman manager of Tavesher Surkai, the MMA fighter. And after a while, you broke away and was a part of the New Breed faction. So what was your memories of WWE's version of ECW?
WWE's version of ECW was not just another program that was no different from one of the other branded programs, except that it didn't get the amount of attention that the Raw and the SmackDown got. But outside of the letters and the name of the program, it was all just one show. I tell people about the brand thing. Is okay, you can label it something different. You can put 3 chicken breasts on a counter, and you can have one wrapped and made from McDonald's, the other from Burger King, the other from Popeyes. But at the end of the day, it's still just chicken sandwiches. So, when it comes to ECW, it was the same thing. It was just another WWE product, but it was great and somewhat exciting to be a part of something that was being viewed and looked at by the wrestling fans as fresh.
Yes, I just found it was an interesting take on ECW, but it made me, well, first of all, I noticed you, and I was like, hey, here's an athlete that needs an opportunity. Then you made your debut in TNA. I was going like, here's a chance. Hopefully they're going to push him into the moon. They gave you an awesome entrance. And I kind of forgot that you never had a title in Impact. I was kind of like, wait a minute, he had to.
Yeah, no, never. There's an old saying in the wrestling world that you get the title for a lot of reasons. Some people get the titles because they need the title to help them or for specific, angles or whatnot that are going on, like we saw with The Miz recently. But a lot of people get titles for different reasons. Some people never get the title because they don't need it. I'm not saying that wouldn't be the case with Pope as far as not needing it, or if I wouldn't want it. What I'm saying is, you look at Roddy Piper, and Roddy Piper was never a world champion. Should he have been the world champion? Of course. He could have been world champion multiple times over. But at the end of the day, Roddy Piper did not need to be a world champion to be over. Arn Anderson didn't need the world champion to be over. Well, would it have been nice for those guys to be world champions? Yeah. Scott Hall, another example, world champion material. So yeah, I was supposed to be the world champion, heading to lockdown, but some things happened, some things changed, and it never came to fruition.
So moving on back to the NWA, how did Billy Corgan reach out to you when you first came into the company?
Well, me and Billy has always had a great relationship. Going back to TNA Impact Wrestling, when he bought in to that company. So it was just a thing of me sitting back watching, and it was actually Dave Lagana hit me up, and it was crazy because all of us have worked together in the past. Me and Dave have worked together in WWE. He was an integral part of ECW, as well as we worked together in Impact Wrestling. So it was actually Dave who hit me up on behalf of Billy. And I thought, well, I'll come down, I'll check it out because I'm actually a fan of this product. Throughout the week, when you have everybody doing everything wrestling wise, you have all this content of wrestling per week. And you look at all these wrestling programs, and they're all somewhat, if not all, similar. You watch it, you see the match, you see all the different moves and flips and kicks, and it's just so much of the same stuff. The craziness, the wackiness of the story, just so much of the same stuff that's across television. But when NWA Power debuted, it was wrestling 101. It was wrestling the way that it used to be, the way that it should be, old school with a new school feel. That was NWA Power. So I was digging it before I was even contacted. So when I got contacted, I was like, oh, yeah, let's see what this thing is all about. So that's how I got the NWA.
I stumbled onto Power just randomly one night. I was like, what's on YouTube? Let me see what I can see. And I sat and watched the episode. I went, this reminds me of Smoky Mountain Wrestling. Is this everything I remember that is great about Smoky Mountain Wrestling? And you just have some newer talent and they can do a lot more things.
Again, from me being an old school fan of growing up, in the 80s, loving NWA Power and NWA Power Hour. And, it just takes me back. And one of the great things about it is the fact that it's your world, you go out there, you have freedom, you have liberty to go to the canvas and create art. And so that's the best part. We all have that opportunity, but we don't get it freely. Some are told what to go out there and do in other companies, and how to paint, and how to do the outline, and what colors to use. Well, here in NWA, you just told there's your canvas, go make some magic. Whether that's on the microphone, whether that's in the ring, and that's what makes NWA so cool to be a part of.
Pope, for the younger listeners, can you explain the importance of the NWA World Title? At one point, it was considered the world title.
Well, the NWA World Championship title was the wrestling title. Yeah, it was the real, as often coined and used by Nick Aldis and obviously formerly Ric Flair, but the real World Championship title. And the NWA title was the World Champion title of titles, because nobody had a harder schedule than the touring NWA champion. So when you became the NWA champion, you had the weight of the entire National Wrestling Alliance on your shoulders, because while you had to perform and fulfill your duties for television with the NWA, you still had obligations to go to other promotions that were subcontracting or partnering or whatnot with the NWA. The NWA champion had to go to other promotions and defend the NWA title. Oftentimes, Flair would wrestle twice in one night. So the NWA title, that was the belt. That was the title that everybody considered the title, the legit title. And that was all because of the guys that held it, and they just added that legitimacy to that title. It made you believe that these guys were truly top-notch athletes.
Yes, and that's how I feel about you and Nick Aldis. I think both of you basically make the title. You guys act like a champion, dress like a champion, and you speak like a champion. And it's just great to see you guys wrestling.
Man, I'm sure you'll appreciate that if he hears it, and certainly I appreciate that. And again, that's Nick Aldis, prime example. He's going on, 900 days, I believe, as champion, and he was an integral part of getting this place back up. He's represented the NWA proudly, with style, with class, and whatnot. And so, yeah, it as I was saying about the titles, a lot of people get the titles for a lot of reasons, One of those reasons, again, is to get the title over. That's one of the reasons that people would get a title. The reason the title kept coming back to Flair was not because Flair needed it. Flair didn't need the title to get over, but at some point when the title would lose its luster, it goes back to Flair, because now that title looks and has that legitimacy added back to it because of the person who's carrying it, and that's Flair. So when certain people carry that title, it means more because it adds more prestige, more value to the title, whether that's because of the way the person dressed, acts, or is a top-notch wrestler, like a technical guy like a Bret Hart or Chris Benoit was, or something like that. So that's what you do, and sometimes other people need the title to get over. That's another reason. I guess I should state the reasons, since I keep going back to it. Yeah, but is to get the title over, to get the individual over, or because the person is actually over. So, those are like some of the reasons there.
Well, coming out of this last episode of Power, there seems to be 3 people that will basically challenge you for your NWA championship. Which of the 3 would you like to face first?
Don't matter. Well, I mean, for you said first, but certainly Pope ain't planning on facing all 3 of them back to back. I mean, if that's the point, what they're wrestling for. But it doesn't matter. Darren Young, aka Fred Rosser, is a hell of an athlete, and I think that's the guy who won on Power, and that's who I would be looking forward to facing. You don't look ahead; you only look forward to your next, not your next 2, 3. You just focus on your next, and that's what I look forward to. And it's always great to share the ring with somebody like that who knows, who's just a consummate professional. So I look forward to that. I look forward to being in there and mixing it up with old Fred Rosser.
Yes, he was a pleasant surprise when I watched the episode of Power. I was like, wait a minute, I know him. Where did I know him from? Then I'm like, oh yeah, he's Darren Young from WWE. And I'm like, it's going to be kind of interesting to see how he goes from here. So that's going to be an interesting matchup. Now, the matchup that I really want to see down the road is you versus Nick Aldis, and hopefully we'll get there one day.
Hopefully we will. If you guys keep making noise the way you're doing right now, I mean, that's all I'm getting hit up with on social media. Twitter. I know we'll get there, but Twitter at the Black Pope, or on Instagram at the Black Pope. That's all I'm getting is people, have these moments where they want to make it known that they want Pope versus Nick Aldis, and I look forward to seeing, if that comes into fruition. But I'm pretty certain that we will get to that point here, and probably in season 4 of NWA Power.
So one question I had about Power and the pay-per-view, did you guys have fans, or do you just have some fellow wrestlers around the ring?
No, not fellow wrestlers. You just had a limited, you can call it fans. That's what they were there for, but it was a limited audience. No, none of the wrestlers like in NXT or something like that. But we had a crowd that was there for that purpose.
Okay, that's cool. Well, let's go ahead and we're going to wrap this up. Pope, you do some amazing work outside of the wrestling ring. You have the Love Alive charity, which is based in Jacksonville, Florida. Can you tell our audience about that?
Yes. I'm sitting here thinking about what you just said, and I went to my charity, and it's like that audience. Just to back up a little bit, that audience, it sounded good, did it not? And add to the quality of that pay-per-view.
Pope, it did. It was the best thing about it.
Yeah, being in that studio setting, man, it just made it that much better to have that little bit of people. It certainly added to it. And I was just thinking about that as you moved on. But yeah, my charity, the Love Alive charity, over at love-alive.org. My charity, man, is something that's near and dear to Pope's heart, something we set up well back in 2012. I'm in my 9th year, going on my 10th. Next year, I'll be celebrating the charity's 10th year anniversary. And basically what we do over at the Love Alive charity is it's not just giving back. I don't like to necessarily use that term, give back, but we do our part to help those who are less fortunate in the community, as well as impoverished, living in impoverished neighborhoods. We do it all when it comes to serving the public, whether that's feeding them, that's clothing them, that's giving book bags filled with necessary items and supplies for kids to achieve academic success. And when I hold my big event for the Love Alive charity, when we do our mass feeding of hundreds of individuals at one time, 300, 400, we feed them directly out of Burger King. And that's something cool that I like to do. We're not giving them peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. We're not giving them cold cuts. We actually feed them what we take for granted. And because we have the ability to go to McDonald's, anytime we want to. So I just like to do that to let them know that we're no better. And we want to, feed them out of Burger King. We give them clothes. We give them shoes. We got blankets for the people who live on the streets. And you just name it. Whatever else there is that we can do, tents, hats, gloves, whatever. We just try to do our part to be the change that we wish to see in the world. So again, guys, if you're listening, head over to love-alive.org. And I always encourage people to donate $1, even $1 helps. You can also follow the Love Alive charity on Instagram at the Love Alive charity, as well as on Facebook, the Love Alive charity. And just head over and see what we're doing to help your boy continue to be the change that we wish to see in the world.
And ladies and gentlemen, you can look into the show notes. All the links are there in the show notes, or you can head over to Radio Free PW, and I have the links to his charity and his podcast there for you. Just check on the link, and I appreciate anybody who does donate to the charity. And Pope, thank you for
And
joining us today.
yeah, no problem, man. And just, really quick before we wrap this thing up, Mr. Burkhead, I want to thank you for allowing your boy to come on here. Thanks for having me. I want to also thank you for contributing to the Love Alive charity. You're not just, telling everybody else to do so. You've already done so, and I appreciate you for doing that, Daddy. And if anybody don't make it to the website, you can use the Cash App, money sign, the Love Alive charity as well. But Mr. Burkhead, Radio Free Pro Wrestling, it's been a pleasure, my friend.
Well, Pope, thank you for coming on, and I hope to see that Nick Aldis Pope match in person. I want to make that 3-hour drive down to Atlanta and see that.
Oh, man, I tell you what, man, if that happens, then we going to make some history. We going to make some magic. What a fitting moment that would be for your boy Pope to stand with the 10 pounds of gold. I'm just saying.
Well, Pope, that title's going to look really nice around that waist of yours, I got to say.
Well, certainly I appreciate it, man. Keep our fingers crossed. Keep sending that positive energy to your Pope's way, man. And we'll make sure that happens one day real soon.
Thanks, Pope. You have a great week.
Hey, you do the same, man. Thanks, Sean.